I don't know how much of an intro we have to give this gentleman that's joining us today, but Rob, welcome Dale Earnhardt Jr. to the show.
I know, right? The legend.
One of the goats. One of the goats.
For real.
How are you? I appreciate it. I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. We're having a great summer. We just came from Nashville Super Speedway, where we raced this past weekend. And it was an incredible race, great energy, big crowd. Fans are back at the track. So right now, everybody's smiling.
Yeah.
Yeah. First of all, let's tell these guys, they must didn't get the memo, man. They didn't wear their blue. What's up with that, man?
Oh, no. Yeah, no.
Y'all didn't get the memo?
I went Superman. I thought we were having Shaquille on today. I got all sideways.
I'm sorry about the Dale. The Atlanta Hawks are in the Eastern Conference Final, so I got to kind of represent all day today.
That's all right.
A funny story before we start, Dale. You know, I'm from Alabama, so my first experience was at Talladega.
Really?
In 1990. And you know who won it in 1990?
I think my dad won that race.
Your dad won it. So that's my first time going to a NASCAR event, and I was at Talladega. And ever since then, I've been a fan. And you know, it's hard when you have to follow in your father's footsteps. And I'm saying that because I have a son that's playing basketball right now, and everybody's always talking about how do you want to be like your dad? And I tell them all the time, no, dog, you don't want to be like me. You want to be better than me.
That's right.
How was it growing up, you know, having to have that shadow lingering over you as your father, who all know was one of the greatest of all times?
Yeah, he was good, man. He won a lot of races and he had 7 championships. And I just knew that I hate to say never, but I just feel like the idea of me getting to that level was going to be like impossible. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I tried to just be myself, and I would do a lot of interviews, and I would go overboard trying to show people that I'm different than him, you know, mm-hmm. and I'm not like him. I'm going to make different choices than he's going to make on the track, off the track. And so, I mean, he had this intimidator profile, and he drove a black car, dressed in black. He was scary. You didn't want him behind you. He was going to hit you. And that was his thing. Right. And so my thing was, I was the good guy. You know, he was kind of the bad guy, and I was going to be the good guy, you know, and I was going to be approachable, easygoing, likable guy you want to have a beer with, person, you know, your next door neighbor, felt like you could relate to. And I was going to be an open book. You know, when we did interviews, I was going to be honest and upfront. And I think that I'm glad I did that, because it slowed down all those comparisons. People got it, right? You know, people started to say, oh yeah, I'm wasting my time, you know, trying to say, you know, you need to be like your dad because you're obviously going on another route. So that helped a lot, is being honest and open and out there and letting people see who you were. They go, okay, he's not going to be this copy of his father or another version of his dad. He's going to be his own self.
I mean, that's kind of what's so cool about the show you're doing. Lost Speedway season 2 comes out this summer. And if you haven't seen Lost Speedways on Peacock, what a great show. I mean, just a chance to kind of dive into the history of racing and check out these tracks and stuff that are kind of abandoned and kind of left behind, and the history of them and the races there and stuff. What are some of the cooler tracks in season 2 that you guys get to go check out?
One of the cool ones is Texas World Speedway. It's in College Station, Texas. And this track closed in the early 80s. There wasn't a bunch of, you know, it wasn't a big, there wasn't a lot of folks living there at the time. Not enough to support that type of a facility. And so the track suffered in attendance and numbers and couldn't make it, financially didn't make it. And so it closes around 1981, 1982. At least it lost its cup races, and that it needed those to survive. 2 years later, the sport exploded. We got network TV deals with ESPN, TNN, all these other players, and our our business boomed. And if the track could have just made it a couple more years, we would still be racing there today. I think that that's interesting to me, is just how close that place came to making it. Yeah. They came so close. And it's this 2-mile, it's a 2-mile track sitting in the middle of nowhere, and it's massive. And there's all the other lost speedways we go to are half-mile, small little places. You can find them in the woods or over in this field. They're not big. They don't take up a bunch of space. This thing is giant. Yeah. And you can hardly see from one end to the other. And they've already started developing the property. So they've basically cut half of this track and wiped it off of the surface. You can't even tell it was there. There's nothing left. And then, so there's like half of this giant space is this perfectly manicured, brand new grass ready for development. And then the other half is this giant, old, aging, dilapidated, giant super speedway. The optics of that is insane. And so that's the selfish part for me, is that I get to go and look at these places for the first time and see them and talk about them. And I thought, this is either going to be really cool for people, they're going to like it, or they're going to think it's stupid. But luckily, everybody seems to like it. You know, people are into abandoned stuff. They're into abandoned amusement parks, buildings, high schools,
malls. That's a big one. Yeah.
They're exploring these old abandoned mansions and all kinds of stuff. So the people are into that stuff, and they don't even know it, And so there's an audience out there beyond just racing, right? Beyond just the race fan. I think will find this interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, Dale, when we start talking about sports and the difficulties of, each sport, people name, so what are some of the toughest things to do in sports? They say, well, play quarterback, hit a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. But one thing that people rarely bring up is being able to drive a race car at the speeds that you do and being able to intertwine. Just talk about, for some people who may not have seen or been to a lot of races like myself, I've watched a few on TV, but never really been to one. Just talk about the difficulty of driving a car that fast with a bunch of you all on the track and trying to maneuver and get ahead and get your placement.
Well, first off, Brandon, we got to get you to a race.
We've been screaming that. We've been telling him.
Please, just go to one race. If you never come back again, that's fine, but you got to see it. You got to check that box, man.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and Dega's a great one. Anyways.
We got Atlanta Motor Speedway right there too.
Yeah. Hey, stay tuned.
Hey, I want to just go with you, Dale, because you already said let's just drink a beer. I just want to have that moment.
Let's do that.
Dale, drink a beer.
The box you're trying to check. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
To answer that question, I think that, man, I have a hard time. So it's about 100 on a good day, about 120 degrees. The worst day is 150 degrees. The last couple of races have been really hot, Texas and Nashville. Yeah. And so the temps inside the cars are about 135 to 150 degrees. And it's 3.5 hours in there. You're sitting still. It's not like you can feel the wind come. They don't want wind coming in the car. They make these cars to where there's no wind coming inside. And so it's just this hot, stagnant air, nothing moving around. You almost feel like you're a Chick-fil-A biscuit sitting there cooking under this light. Man, it's misery, man. It's misery. I'll tell you that when we're watching, when we're at a race and fans will ask, you miss it, you want to be out there? I'm like, no, because it's miserable. Look how hot it is. It's miserable. These guys are going to be miserable in about 5 minutes. So that's probably the part that I don't miss. But, so the heat's massive. You lose about 8 pounds of water weight every race. So, you get in the car, you weigh before and you weigh after the race. It's going to be 6 to 8 pounds. And so that's tough on your body, I think, going through a transition like that and putting all that back in, putting the right things back in your body during the week so that you're good to go for the next race. The mental focus that you need to sustain for the entire race is a bit tough. So I'm sure you guys, experience this as well. Everybody's great right out of the gate. Everybody's fresh. Everybody's sharp. Everybody's mentally tough. It's the great ones and the good ones that still have that in the fourth quarter. It's the great drivers that are just as sharp in those last 50 miles. Because a lot of guys, they get hot, they get tired, their decision making slows down, they start getting careless, they're not up on the chip, they're not pushing as hard, they don't have the energy, not just physically but mentally. It's tough. Plus, you're doing all this and you got 40 other guys out there, or 39 other guys out there, and they're all jerks. Right. Nobody is doing you any favors. Right. It's trying to get boxed out by everybody on the court. Right.
Well, and Rob drives in LA traffic, so he's well aware of what.
Yeah. It's weird that I tell people all the time, you know how sometimes they say, okay, NASCAR it's the easiest sport. Like, bullshit. I said, think about it. I got to go pee every 10 damn minutes. So I'm like, you driving the car for 3 hours, you got to pee. I'm like, oh shit, I lose my concentration. But the thing is like when you talk about having to have that nerves of steel and concentrate in the fourth quarter, and as you get older, that concentration kind of fades because you have kids, you have a wife. So how did you know it was time to let it go? For me, I just didn't have the same focus and the energy and the drive. So how did you know when it was time to say, you know what, I got to retire and just go be a family man, start a new chapter in my life?
That's exactly what I did. I went and started a family. So I wonder if if there was somebody younger on your team that had that drive that you had, and you looked at them and said, it's time for me to move out of his way. Did you have that?
No. My backup was Matt, and he was like, dude, you're not my good. I just for me, it wasn't the season, it was the off season, because you have to get up to go lift weights, you have to go play basketball, then you have to go do your skill work. And for me, I just didn't have that drive anymore to try to get better. I said, I'm 36 years old. I can't get no better than this, and it's just time to go. So there was nobody behind me or in front of me that I looked at like, oh, this dude's gonna get my minutes. So I just on my own said, it's time for me to go.
I had a guy that was racing. His name's Mike.
Hey, see, now you know. I'm the same. You see, I was the same way. It must be the blue shirts today.
No. Sorry, I don't know why I couldn't think of his name. Alex Bowman. I mean, he's like, I groomed this guy.
Alex is gonna call you up now. Yo, man, you can forget me like that.
He is. He's gonna call. So I was wanting to say William Byron for some reason, but I've helped a lot of guys kind of up the ladder. But Alex Bowman was behind me and he was next in line to take my ride. And if I didn't sort of get out of the way, then his opportunity wasn't going to happen. And he had more drive, more determination, more fire. He was younger and he was ready. And I was over the hill. I mean, I wasn't my best version anymore. You know what I'm saying? My best days were behind me. And so I could have probably been selfish and stuck it out another year or two, but I'm sitting there thinking, man, I got everything out of this I ever wanted. I'm newly married and I do want to be a family man, and I want to be there at home. I don't want to be off racing and traveling. And this guy's time is now or never behind me, Alex. So, and I had been working with him for about a decade, sort of positioning him into that role. So it was working as designed, whether I was 100% behind it or not. I was about 90% good with the decision to retire, and I still miss it a little bit. But I mean, no denying I had injuries, head injuries, concussions, all those things. I was going to the well too many times. I was playing with fire when it comes to my head injuries. And I certainly didn't want to have to go through another year, another 6 months of rehabilitation after a crash while I got a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old. Trying to be present for my wife and my kids at home. I mean, it was time to put it was time to put other people first. I'd been doing what I wanted to do all my life.
Right.
Yeah. Well, then that's the thing. You hang it up and you're like, all right, finally some downtime. And then you got 2 little kids at home. And I'm sure they probably run you around, man.
It's pretty busy. I didn't, you don't know what fatherhood's like. They can give you all the advice in the world, and you're going to get it. You're going to get all the advice in the world. Everybody tells you everything to expect, everything to do, but you still don't understand it until you go through it. And it's the greatest thing ever. It's I can't wait to go back upstairs and hang out with them here later. But it's hard. It's tough. I guess what I'm trying to say is I really appreciate more now what being a parent means. I didn't get it. Yeah. I almost feel apologetic in some ways. My sister had 2 girls, and I'd be like, "Why are you doing that? Why did you say that to her? Why are you raising them that way? Why you let them get away with that?" And now here I am as a dad, and I'm eating all those words.
Every one of them, man. Yeah. Every one of them. That's how it works.
So what are some things you speak about fatherhood? What are some things that, your father taught you that you want to pass down to your kids?
My dad quit high school in the 8th grade at 16 years old. He'd failed like 4th grade, failed grades that, nobody's failing. Mm-hmm. And he just didn't apply himself. He disappointed his father when he quit. And he was, so when I'm going to school, my dad was like, "Please just finish school." And he's like, "If you want to do more beyond high school and with your education, you'll get more from me. Mm-hmm. You'll get all the support in the world, whether it's racing or whatever it is you want to do, as long as you continue to apply yourself and better yourself." And so, those are the things that were important to him. And we never talked about racing. We never sat down, and he never said, "This is how you drive this track," or "This is how you deal with it." We never did any of that. I don't know why. He wasn't really hands-on like that. But, he was just, so when I got my driver's license at 16 years old, he took me to the insurance agent to get our insurance. And I'm like, "What are we doing? Like, what am I doing at the insurance agent?" He's like, "You need to know what car insurance is and why you have it." And like, he wanted you to know the little principles in life. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if I'll be as good as he was at teaching that value of things, the things you take for granted. Mm-hmm. But I hope that, I hope my girls take their education seriously. I hope that they put their best effort into their education, and because that could take them a lot of places. And as long as they're willing to really put the time into that, I'm going to be happy to help them wherever they want to go. And I also don't want them I want them to know the value of $1. I don't want them to think that everything just comes falling out of the sky whenever they need something. Mm-hmm. I want them to appreciate what they have. And that's, my dad I had a S10 pickup truck, single cab Tahoe package, like a very bottom end, but it was a good truck. That was my first vehicle. And
you probably still have it too, don't you?
I still got it.
I knew that.
Yep. And when I graduated high school, I got a 2-tone brown full-size truck with no carpet. And I'm like, goodness. And all my friends, are driving these nice cars. I'm like, "Dad, no wonder I ain't popular."
Yeah. All right, Dale, we could talk to you for an hour. I swear to God we could. They're telling me we got to wrap up, but I want to just mention again, Lost Speedways on Peacock season 2 drops on Thursday. Please go check out the show.
And I'm gonna get to a race, Dale. I promise.
Come see us. Come see us, Brandon.
We will get it.
Oh, Dale, before you go, it's the NBA playoffs, and we always talk about in and around this time of the season, who's your Mount Rushmore players. And we get asked this question all the time. So I have to ask you because, we probably won't have you on for a while now. Who is your Mount Rushmore of NASCAR? But here's the thing. You can't include yourself or your dad because we know you two are great. So, yeah. Who's your Mount Rushmore of NASCAR?
I just want to say Jordan's the greatest of all time.
Okay.
They'll earn points. Okay.
Anyways, I think that Cale Yarborough is he's always one of my favorites. Short but tough, mean, Richard Petty. I mean, guys,
sure.
200 wins, 7 championships, fan favorite, never turned down an autograph, set the standard in and out of the car for all drivers. I don't know. I think David Pearson's another one, and Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson was a 7-time champion, one of the easiest guys to talk to, one of the funnest guys to be around. Mm-hmm. He never got credit for just how good a guy he was. Mm-hmm. I think, he won too much. People didn't like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the fans never got to know him as well as I did. And I wish they had, because they would have probably celebrated him more when he was winning. They're going to, down the road, they're going to realize what he meant to the sport, and he'll get all that credit and celebration down the road. But I wish he would have been able to enjoy that while he was winning, hear the fans in the stands just chanting his name. And he was, because he was the best of the best. So he's a good guy.
He's up there. All right, Dale. Listen, we'll let you run. Congratulations on the show, Lost Speedway Season 2 on Peacock. Please check it out. And thank you for your time. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you so very much. And if I ever run across, I want that beer, man. That's all I got to say.
Let's drink
I gotta have that beer.
Go, man. Absolutely. You got that beer.
All right, Dale.
Brandon, come see us. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Anytime, man.
All right.
Thanks.